All right, so if you own a home in the Valley, this is the moment that you need to pay attention to, because some of the trendiest neighborhoods in LA, the best LA neighborhoods, are about to explode in 2026. And it's not just vibes. If you're not paying attention to the latest Los Angeles new development, you're missing out on one of the biggest wealth building opportunities in a decade. You know, we're talking new housing, major retail moves, transit projects, huge investments that are changing demand street by street. And if you're thinking about, selling in Sherman Oaks, Studio City, or Encino, you'll see why pricing, buyer traffic, and competition are shifting fast. Before we jump in, hit like and subscribe, and drop a comment below and tell me which neighborhood you think will have a breakout star this year. I want to hear your predictions. Let's get into it. All right, so Sherman Oaks is quietly turning into one of the Valley's strongest lifestyle markets, okay? And I'm seeing buyer behavior change in real time. And this isn't hype. It's about how often people are coming here, how long they're staying, and how easy daily life feels. That's the stuff that drives demand. The new Whole Foods at Beverly Glen and Ventura is a huge foot traffic driver. It pulls people in from outside the neighborhood and changes driving patterns. Pair that with the new Trader Joe's at the Citrus Commons. And now, Sherman Oaks has like this two habit-forming retail anchors, right? Buyers don't say it directly, but convenience like this absolutely affects how high they're willing to go. And at the same time, IMT apartment developments, new housing near Sepulveda and the 101 are adding density and reinforcing Sherman Oaks as a central access hub. More residents mean more services survive, more restaurants open, and the area feels active, not sleepy. That activity creates confidence, and confident buyers move faster. We're already seeing the impact of the newer Ralphs at Hazeltine, which has reshaped retail flow, and even the constant turnover of shops and restaurants signals a neighborhood in transition. To me, that's often the window where sellers can win, when buyers feel like they're getting in before the next phase fully shows up. And finally, Dixie Canyon Elementary's full campus renovation is a major long-term value driver. School investment brings serious family buyers who don't hesitate when the fit is right. And when you stack retail, anchors, access, density, school upgrades all together, Sherman Oaks clearly earns its spot on the list of LA neighborhoods booming in 2026. All right, let's have a look at Studio City. It's not just appreciating, it's transforming, and buyers feel the difference immediately. This market is being reshaped by large-scale projects that permanently change how the neighborhood functions, not just how it looks. First off, the Sportsman's Lodge redevelopment, right? Bringing 520 apartments plus river-adjacent retail with a target around 2027 is one of the most important projects in the Valley. When buyers know something like this is coming, they don't price off of today, they price for the future. And that future-focused mindset is already showing up in offers. Add to that Riverwalk Studio City with 814 apartments and major retail footprint, the CBS Radford Studios. Suddenly you have a real walkability and daily use amenities at scale. 4260 Arch Drive project, 129 units near the river. It all reinforces what I'm seeing. The river corridor is becoming an asset and not a boundary. Even the 131 unit affordable housing project approved, despite pushback, tells me the momentum here is strong and directional. On the institutional side, Radford Studios Center's $1 billion modernization is a massive confidence signal. Expanding production capacity brings long-term high-income jobs, which directly feeds housing demand. Harvard Westlake's River Park, adding green space, athletic facilities, layers of quality of life improvements on top of that growth. And from a residential standpoint, ranging from roughly $2.3 to $20 million. And it shows how deep and diverse the buyer pool really is. When sellers position correctly, Studio City becomes one of the clearest examples of why these LA neighborhoods are booming in 2026. All right, let's quickly talk about North Hollywood, playing the long game. And you can actually see it on the ground. This is one of the clearest examples in the valley where infrastructure leads and real estate follows, right? So buyers who understand that are paying attention. The headline district NoHo, the largest transit-oriented project in the valley. We're talking 1,527 residential units, 300 affordable plus an office tower, retail, a major public gathering space, all centered around the Metro Hub. And this isn't cosmetic development. This is like identity level change. And what I like here is that it's not just planned, it's happening, right? Construction is actively transforming the area, and that matters because buyers believe what they can see, right? Cranes create confidence. Momentum feels real. Then you've got NoHo West, which is already built out and fully operating. Trader Joe's, Regal, offices, apartments. This isn't concept anymore, it's functioning. And when projects are operational, demand becomes sticky, right? People move in, they stay, and the big picture trend is clear, right? Dense, walkable, transit-first development is driving long-term growth. And North Hollywood, it's not right for every seller or buyer, but the right product in the right location is a key reason why, LA markets continue to outperform. Valley Village is one of those neighborhoods that doesn't scream for attention, but it quietly gets stronger, every year, right? Buyers who know the valley well, they understand that this area is becoming more valuable because it's evolving without losing its residential feel. On the development side, 1,200 Riverside, 219 apartments and ground floor retail, add some density that supports local services without overwhelming the neighborhood. Nearby, 12444 Chandler is a mixed-use project next to the G line, ties Valley Village more directly with transit, which matters more to buyers than it did 5 years ago. Project like Case V, SBA exemptions for townhome style apartments are another signal. This is density done in a softer, more neighborhood friendly format. People are concerned, but it's adding housing while preserving the character, and buyers, they want that. And that balance is hard to pull off. From a residential perspective, Valley Village continues to see a steady influx of high-end new homes with prices typically landed in the high $3 million range for the new construction, up to $5 million. The brand new quietly resets expectations for surrounding homes and gives sellers a strong reference point when it's time to list. And finally, as density increases, Valley Village Park becomes even more valuable, not less. Buyers consistently gravitate towards green space when neighborhoods, build up around it. And in the strong demand for remodels and additions, it's clear buyers aren't just shopping here, they're committing. Encino, California. It's one of those markets where, confidence never really left and it's not being reinforced by development, right? Buyers see Encino as established, stable, and upscale, right? What's happening along Ventura Boulevard is only strengthening that perception going forward into 2026, right? We're seeing aging commercial properties converted into mixed use, and even some senior living, right? And that tells me two things, right? Land here is too valuable to underutilize. Demand is long-term, not speculative. These projects quietly add residents, services, and consistency to the corridor. And specific projects matter. 16610 Ventura is bringing apartments plus retail. Balboa Oaks is being adaptively reused into affordable housing. And there's even a Mercedes-Benz plus residential mixed-use proposal in play. When high-profile brands and developers target a stretch of Ventura, it reinforces buyer confidence across the board. At the same time, senior housing and expansions along Ventura are a stabilizing force, right? They're demographic driven, they absorb steadily, and they signal that Encino is a place people plan to stay long term, not flip in and flip out of, And then there's the luxury side, right? Encino remains one of the valley's strongest, spec home-driven markets with new builds, commonly in the 4 to 10 million. There's one on the market for 30 million. That level of pricing doesn't happen without deep buyer belief in the area. And for sellers, Encino is a textbook example of why these LA neighborhoods are booming in 2026, quietly, confidently, and with real staying power. All right, let's check out Tarzana, California. Tarzana's growth story is different from flashier neighborhoods, but that's, why it's powerful, right? This is stability plus upside market, and buyers feel very comfortable putting serious money there. I live there, right? The biggest driver is the Cedars-Sinai Tarzana $624 million expansion, which is actively redefining the medical district, new operating rooms and advanced treatment facilities, and that means long-term jobs, top-tier professionals, and a constant stream of high-income demand. Healthcare expansion is one of the strongest economic anchors that you can have, and it tends to protect values even in choppier markets. Along Ventura Boulevard, we're seeing, multiple apartment and retail projects proposed, along with a noticeable increase in affordable housing developments. My insights here, this isn't about changing Tarzana's identity. It's about strengthening the Ventura Boulevard corridor, right? More residents support better services, and better services make the neighborhoods easier to live in. And on the residential side, high-end gated estates remain in strong demand, and Tarzana continues to attract buyers, who want space and land and privacy, a little calmer feel than, Sherman Oaks or Studio City. And that buyer profile is consistent, and consistency is gold for sellers. Right? New construction generally trades in the $5 million to $6 million range. It reinforces Tarzana's position as a premium valley market without the volatility of trend-driven areas. And that's why Tarzana firmly belongs in the conversation about LA's strongest growth neighborhoods in 2026. Not loudly, but certainly with confidence. All right, so when you finally step back and look at the valley as a whole, one thing is clear, right? This isn't random growth, right? These LA neighborhoods are booming, in 2026 because they're being fueled by real fundamentals, right? Retail anchors, housing density, transit, healthcare, education, and institutional investment all moving at the same time. What I'm seeing on the ground is that buyers are becoming more decisive in neighborhoods where the story makes sense. Right? They're stretching more in places like Sherman Oaks, Studio City, and Encino because they understand, where those areas are headed, right? They're not just buying a house, they're buying into momentum, confidence, and long-term confidence. For sellers, this is important, right? Markets like this reward timing and positioning, not guessing peaks, right? The biggest mistake that I see homeowners make is waiting until the change is obvious, to everyone, right? By then, competition increases, leverage shifts, back to buyers. Right now we're seeing that window where informed sellers can still control the narrative by pricing strategically, telling the right neighborhood story, and hitting the market before supply catches up to demand.